All right, we're going to look at Spider, and also, as you can see right here, Spider. We'll look at Tesla, Nvidia, and GameStop today. We're going to be looking at 65-minute charts each. We're going to try to figure out, we'll do a quick recap. Each tickers here. We got 4 tickers we're going to be looking at today. Quick recap of what happened in the last couple of days, and then trying to forecast what could happen in the next couple days here. Looking at Spider, as you can see right here, this is a pre-election. And I talked about, I posted earlier today that price action right here, we've seen the pre-election price action is extremely similar with the low double bottom and the way it moved. As you can see, double bottom here, double bottom here. That oscillator also had a double bottom, slight bullish divergence, but this one's really more like a real bullish divergence right here. As you can see, that oscillator was definitely cultivating that higher low, and it was elevated, right, while the price, if we look at the wick here, we did hit that equal lows, as you can see here. But anyhow, what we can see is this, the price, double bottom, and basing out very, very similar to September, mid-September, and here in early November. And look at what happened mid-September. Pretty much went vertical here, and then it started chopping and chopping for a while until October, and then we saw another rally there. You can see we after the election, or the election was announced, we saw a huge influx of buyers coming in, gapped up about 2% or something like that, and it's been, it went pretty much vertical for days. And we actually, things started chopping as soon as we lost that micro term. You can see that micro term was lost right here. So it's been riding above the micro term for, a week or so. And then we lost micro term right here. As you can see, for the first time since the election pump, you can see that micro term was lost, and it's been just hovering underneath the micro term. And this is a yesterday price section right here, and we finally got below it. Short term was there to prop this back up, retest the micro term, and sideways again. Short term again got up here. We slightly got above it, but we lost it on the 5th hour, and you can see that's a 6th hour today's price action. So we're still sandwiched between the micro and the short term. And obviously, with the vertical move we've seen in the last week or so, you would probably going to see this market digesting, consolidating as the buyers are resting. I reckon we're going to see some choppy action here. Going into tomorrow, though, I think it's pretty 50-50 right now as far as, these short-term movement is concerned. We got 600 all-time high level, we got 590s here. If we lose a short-term to the downside, especially if we see a down gap, if we gap down below the short-term and that down gap stays open, likely a bear is going to try to at least to attack this up gap. Remember, this is an up gap at 593, 590 or so, and it would favor the buyers if this up gap is protected. But if we do see a downturn tomorrow, that's probably where bulls are trying to go tomorrow. If we do see any sort of upside move and reclaims a micro term, and for the micro term to be reclaimed, it needs to hold above it at least 2 hours or so. For it needs to stay above further. You can see it. It needs to hold above. Let's say if we get up there tomorrow in 1st hour, something like that, and then we'll maybe gap up. It needs to hold above it for like 2 hours. And so that, because it needs that, it goes through that reprogramming process to reprogram that micro term to support the buyers. As you can see, that micro term is actually supporting the sellers, you see. And for like 3 hours right here, the sellers were doing the reprogramming of that micro term. And so when we pop back up, the micro term was what? Resistance, right? And so that's what bulls need to do, reprogram that micro term to support the buyers. Again, that's going to take 2 hours or so. So that's what we're kind of dealing with. We're sandwiched in between these moving averages. And I think it's pretty clear, you know, depending on how it trades in the next tomorrow, a couple of hours, we'll see if we're going to continue get above the 600 or something like that. Again, you know, as I look at my daily chart, you know, we are dealing with sort of the extended market sentiment right now. So even if we see a pop, I don't see this thing just you know, thrusting for days. It will probably more like if we see a pop, pull back a bit sideways, it's gonna be choppy. That's sort of the sentiment that we're dealing with. That's probably what's gonna happen going into the next couple days. So you see that oscillator, we did initially cross back up today. However, we're not fully, you know, you see it's not looking like this. It's looking like it doesn't know what it wants to do. It's at neutral stance, probably because the last 2 hours of price action right here, 5th and 6th hour. So that oscillator is at a neutral stance right now. It's again, like I said, it's waiting. Is it gonna reclaim the micro term? Then it's probably gonna get right back up. Or is it gonna lose the short term? Then this thing is gonna cross back down, you see, and then, you know, it's gonna be somewhere here. So it's gonna be a lethargic, sort of the choppy you know, days that is gonna be ahead, I believe. Let's go to Tesla here. Tesla made a phenomenal move, of course, last couple weeks here. As you can see, we actually have a island up gap that's not been filled. It's actually still open. So this island up gap is very, very crucial because first of all, the size of that gap is a huge island gap, right? This is where we close, we open here. This was a down gap, right? That's why it's an island, right? This was a down gap right here. This is an up gap, right? Island gap gets the green colored box there, so we can see that's an island up gap, right? We got a pullback to retest that island gap, coinciding with that midterm. Look at the midterm moving average. That's the dotted blue. That dotted blue moving average does have an impressive resume because it's been acting as a very crucial pivot. Very crucial pivot. As you can see, it's been acting as support here. We lost it, we reclaimed it, came back down, reprogrammed to support the buyers. Boom, just went vertical there. Not only because it's because there's a midterm is there. Not only there's a midterm moving average, we also have that island gap, right? That island gap was retested but was protected, right? And then we have a secondary up gap there. And then what happened? It's been riding that micro term. Look at that micro term right here, here. We finally lost the micro term right 2 days ago. You can see, you see how things got hectic as soon as we lost the micro term, right? When the micro term holds, it seems like, you know, this thing just want to keep going higher when the micro term is not breached. But once the micro term is breached right here, you know, we fall down and there's an attempt to get back up here. You see that upper wick, but now the micro term is no longer supporting the buyers. That's why we see that upper wick. And then we come right back down. However, the short-term moving average is fresh. Short-term average moving average is fresh. You can see right here, short-term moving average with the green there. And also looks like that oscillator is getting near to that oversold zone. However, that doesn't always mean that the bottom is near. Not always, because it could sort of do a little whipsawing action right here, something we've seen here. Very similar, looks like. You can see right here. Look at how the micro term was lost right here. Micro term was lost right here. And then micro term acting as resistance right here. Micro term acting as resistance right here. Short term held, short term held. So it's very simple here. Short term was lost. And you can see we did see a couple days of downturn until we found support on that midterm moving average and the island of gap area, right? So if the short term loses, you know, then we want to sort of look at that oscillator. You know, I guess the worst case, it could come down to 280, and Tesla is pretty hyped up. We've been seeing these big moves, so it's not out of the question that you know what I'm saying, that this thing could come back down pretty hard, especially if the overall market is sort of illuminating this bearish environment, kind of like a fearful environment. Tesla could come back down here to retest the midterm, but I believe as long as these two up gaps are protected, I think Tesla does look bullish here. But again, this could potentially be a bull flag, and if we do hold the short term, if we don't lose that short term, this is not a bad level to see that flagging actually playing out. And you know, if we can reclaim the micro, so it's very definitive levels here. Are we gonna able to reclaim the micro term to continue to the upside, or are we gonna lose the short term? I think there's more to lose for the Tesla bulls here if we lose the micro or short term, right? If we lose the short term, there's more downside risk versus if we reclaim the micro term. I don't know if we're going to see another thrust like that. I think it's going to be more of a choppy type of grindy higher move, right? Let's go to NVIDIA here and see how it's looking here. So NVIDIA also giving us a little bit of that bearishness with the bearish divergence signal here. You can see the higher highs on these, on the price action, lower high. We did see about 1 day downturn here. You see this is equal highs, lower highs on that oscillator, and we saw about 2 to 3 days, looks like, of downturn, midterm retest, and that bearish divergence again showed up here. And so there's a gap here. Let's annotate that gap, because it's important that gap is not filled yet. So because if that gap doesn't get filled, we got a little bit of gap right here, as you can see. If that gap doesn't get filled, somehow bulls can reclaim the micro term potentially. You know, there's ways bulls can neutralize this threat, this bearish divergence threat. But if we lose if this gap gets filled, we lose this this support right here, 145. Definitely, we're looking at 139, the midterm moving average. Looks like let's annotate this gap too, because I think this gap. Oh, actually, we got a lot of gaps here. So all these gaps, and a lot of people think that the gaps should always be filled. That's not true. You can see some gaps may never get filled. So it's not true. It's actually a myth that all gaps get filled. Well, this gap right here didn't get filled. You see right here? This gap never got filled. And so doesn't mean that these gaps need to be filled. A lot of times the gaps are deployed by the buyers, so that should there be any kind of decline down the road, these gaps will provide that sort of like that cushion, right? Let's say if this gap gets filled, then there will be next one. So as the selling intensifies and this bearish divergence kind of start to play out, these gaps will slow things down, especially midterm being there. So I think with these signals on NVIDIA, especially if we lose the 145 support there, looks like 140, and then 139, 138 is a possibility. Again, just like my Spider and Tesla analysis, there's more to lose for the buyers to the downside. There's more risk to the downside if we lose some of these levels versus if we do. And something like NVIDIA is such a hyped up, you know, stock that I think we could potentially see, if we do sort of reclaim the micro term and short term, I think we could potentially some big pop. I think NVIDIA can able to do it, because I mean NVIDIA, these Ponzi leeches will start to show up, and I think you know, if even if we see a gap up and ride that micro term, you see that micro term, there's a chance that we could potentially see something like that, and NVIDIA could do it. NVIDIA could do it. NVIDIA could do it. One last one here, GameStop. So GameStop also showed up. This bearish divergence showed up here. Again, there's divergence here. We did see about a week tankage. This one, several days base, got back up. And so we have something similar. and we are just right on that short term right now. As you can see, short term moving average is the green color moving average there. So if the short term gets lost, things could get hectic, I think, especially with the bearish divergence right here. So last time, you know, right here, there's bearish divergence, higher high on the price action, lower high on that oscillator. Short term was right there. And what happened? We did see, looks like about a week or so of the downturn there with slight bullish divergence. And then based out, there's a bullish divergence again. Then we made a move here. But I think the difference is, though, I'm gonna end this video with this. We are, you know, in the midterm, we are in an uptrend. Here, we were more like in the neutral, trendless environment. So I think this downturn was a bit more severe because, again, we were more like in the trendless environment. It was more like, as you know, you can see, it was more like in a sideways environment. But because we're in an uptrend environment right now, right? What's an uptrend? Higher highs, higher lows. So when we're in an uptrend, and there's that momentum here, so you sort of have to look at this divergence a little bit differently versus when we are dealing with sort of trendless environment or the downtrend environment. So I think, you know, again, if we can, there's a micro term here, if we can hold the short term, and you know, we maybe fizzle here a little bit, consolidate a bit more, maybe base out or something like that in this vicinity, there's a chance that oscillator can kind of cross back up and neutralize that threat, and then we can see another thrust higher. But if we do lose the short term and then this thing start really falling, I could see about 24.88 or so. I put a little fib there. 25, 24, I think this band of support here, 25 and 23-ish or so. Midterm is probably gonna meet there if this thing starts to come down. So that's the level you wanna keep an eye on.